So, if you guys didn't see, as of maybe like 2 to 3 hours ago, Purple Matter 4, as many of you guys know, Purple Matter 4 is pretty legit source, right? He's an insider. Everybody knows about him. His hit rate, he don't miss, to be quite honest. He's at like a maybe 90% shooting range, right? 90% shooting percentage. He really don't miss. He said Lil Uzi Vert really wanted to drop in August, but something happened with the label, and after he started dropping snippets, and instead he's now focused on creating his own label and signing talent. So everybody was like, okay, this is, you know, the rebirth of Uzi's 16 label, because so many people have been questioning if Uzi kind of abandoned that or not, which we'll get into a little later, kind of like the history of Uzi's 16 label if you guys don't know. But then he said, I don't know who he's interested in signing, but I assume that's why there's been so many collaborations and sightings of him with underground artists, right? Because we've been seeing pretty much, yeah, like throughout the entirety of 2025, you know, Uzi's been co-signing damn near low-key every lit underground artist. We've already seen Molly Santana, we've already seen Netspend, we've already seen him hop on Osama-san remixes, we've seen him in the studio with Xavier So Based, we obviously seen him in the studio with Pretty Fun, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing a bunch of other underground artists as well. But Uzi, in terms of the underground, has been very quiet, but he's been making his rounds around you know, the underground, right? So everyone's like, okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, and then also like Fago years back, Ken Lone, obviously we've been seeing that. Was good, cream was popping, right? So that's what we've seen from Purple Matter about Uzi's 16 label. So that got me questioning, Uzi's 16 label is, you know, back active, I guess, because Codeine made this thread back in August, Uzi's failed label, right? Because if you guys don't know, this is not anything, like this is not new information that Uzi has like a label that he's been working on. This has been something in the tuck, I don't really know since how long. He said around 2021 to 2022, Uzi would unofficially sign artist Desto. So I'm guessing like 21, 22 is really when Uzi was really working on this. I think that's like my latest memory of like Uzi's 16 label was like 2022 in my opinion, to be quite honest. So that's what he said. He signed, he knows, artist Desto. They made a couple of songs together. Lunchroom was fire. This was fire, right? He did Lunchroom. But obviously, as everybody knows, Desto and Uzi were pretty locked in. They're very, very close. But unfortunately, you know, we all seen, unfortunately, she did pass away right here in Houston back in 2022. So everybody was like, okay, it was Uzi's label just kind of done. The only artist he did sign, unfortunately, did pass away. This was also one of the things that also did confirm Uzi had a label in the works, was that he signed Akachi, which, as many of you guys all know, Akachi has been honestly producing bangers for Uzi. A lot of like the leaks we've been seeing within this year from like the 2023 era of Uzi, a lot of them have been prod via Akachi, right? And he said Uzi would sign Akachi around 2023, and ever since then we don't know anything else about the label. He also likely unofficially signed Brandon Finessin, due to the fact that he's Uzi's main prod. And this is what Akachi said back in 2023. I remember Bobbleline made a video about this. He said this is Mean 16. Apparently this is Uzi's manager. That's what Codeine told me yesterday. Mean 16 is Uzi's manager. Akachi is 16. He's on the rise at Akachi. And this is what Akachi said right here. He said, here it is. As of October last year, as of October 2022, I am officially signed to Lil Uzi Vert. Thanks to Mean 16 and Excellence and the whole team. And shout out to all the guys who have made this possible. You know I got this, bro. Long story short, I've been in the rooms and 300 plus songs in the vault, which low-key damn near have already been kind of leaked. We've been seeing a lot of, 2023 Uzi and Akachi was insane, right? But a lot of people, probably a lot of these songs have been leaked, because we've been seeing a lot of Uzi Akachi leaks this year. And then he said, and the vault just getting ready to flood. Super proud to be the first one signed. Shout out to all the fans. Showing me love. I got y'all, right? So that was pretty much it. It kind of just stopped, right? Around that time, because obviously, you know, Desto did pass away. And then, you know, we've obviously seen some potential signees that a lot of people thought Uzi would have low-key, you know, signed. Fago. He was around Fago hella early. Obviously, him and Yeet were like this. Obviously, we seen Skywater. Seen Versetti post this the other day. He said that there's a song that Skywater hopped on talking about he was getting ready to sign his 1600. Apparently, like the label wasn't rocking with it, something like that. And GYO, which I did think was gonna be one of Uzi's artists as well, because he obviously did the Off-White, This Not Babe. That was NGYO as well. And I think he's from Philly too. And then obviously Pop Hunter, which we know Uzi was I guess working with them or, you know, involved with them. But obviously Pop Hunter, that whole snitching type thing, and he kind of just fell down a drain. So that was kind of like, I guess, a history lesson of Uzi's 16 label to get everybody caught up within 2025. And he also said, PS, Uzi label didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because of these circumstances, right? So a lot of people were like, okay, is Uzi's label kind of like shelved? Desto passed away. It's pretty much cooked at this point, right? We haven't really seen anything from 2023 really until now. What, we're in November of 2025, and this comes from Purple Matter 4. And like I said, he's been around so many underground artists, but then I don't know who he would sign, because say this is a label, he's not going to be able to, at least I don't think, I'm not really too sure, like I said, in terms of like contractual stuff and contracts and, you know, legal stuff. I don't know if you can sign an artist like Molly Santana, who's signed to Victor Victor. Same thing with like Pretty Fun, Victor Victor, Hard Rock, Victor Victor. Who else we got? Osama Sun, Atlantic, Netspend, Interscope. Like, could he still sign those people? I really don't know. I don't really, yeah, contracts are exclusive. I don't think they can. I don't think they can sign an artist who's already signed. But yeah, maybe it could be like a collective, and he just kind of has like his gang of new artists who he's just surrounding himself with. Say this is not a collective and say that this is actually a label. Who would y'all want Uzi to sign then? Because like I said, I don't think he could sign artists who are already in majors. At least I don't think so. But he would have to sign like artists who aren't signed to majors, I'm guessing, or who aren't signed and are independent, or are just completely just very small names right now. Like, to be honest, we don't really know if it's a label who the hell he's gonna sign, right? No Saint could be dope, and I think Uzi hopped on a No Saint beat, to be quiet. I think he did. Slash Pharrell, that could be dope. Imagine he signed Slash. That would be lit. That would be insane. But yeah, it could just be like low-key anybody, right? Because I don't think you could sign, you know, Slayer. Isn't that dude Slayer from Philly? Slayer's from Philly, right? Or he could also go the route of kind of like what Cardi did and kind of just sign new upcoming Philly talent, right? Obviously, Uzi signed all Atlanta talent, Ken, Homicide, Lone, and like Apollo Red. But he could do the same thing with Philly. That could be super dope. That could be very interesting. Or maybe like East Coast, because I'm not really too tapped in with like the new names from Philly. But there's a lot of ways in which Uzi's, I guess, 16 collective label it could go. But I'm very excited to see, you know, what comes from it, right? And Coding Crazy said this, takeaways from this: Uzi label is back and running. That is a very good sign that Uzi, you know, 16, that whole thing is, you know, up in the works again. And that maybe explains why Uzi has been kind of ghost this past year, right? I was complaining about it yesterday, talking about, yo, as a Uzi fan, we've just been in a gutter for the year straight, right? EA2 dropped, was trash. Then we got All Fire Snippets, none of them dropped. Tell Speed, I'm not dropping this year. He kind of blue balled us the whole summer. Summer's gonna be overly good to me. Summer tape, this, that, and that. Boom, boom, boom. It's like, yo, as Uzi fans, he didn't pop out the Cardi show yesterday in Philly. I'm like, bro, we've been so cooked. And 24 hours later, we got this low-key, I said it earlier, probably like the best news for Uzi fans all of 2025, low-key. It might be the best news. But he said Uzi's label's back and running. Uzi looking to get underground artists signed to 16. That's very dope. And Summer Tape was going to drop, but the label ruined it. Yes, that's what he also said too. Uzi really wanted to drop in August, but something happened with the label after he started dropping snippets. So I'm lost on that, to be quite honest. I really don't know. So maybe he actually wasn't lying, and he was actually getting ready to gear up to drop Summer. And you know, the summer was gonna be overly good to him. This and this. The album's gonna be better than the Fish Grease. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's a lot of options in which, you know, really weird situation, but glad we got info. Yeah, very interesting situation. There's a lot of different ways in which this could go down. Could Uzi low-key get a label on par with Opium? He might can, I'm not gonna lie. If he signs the right people, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, would y'all rather have Uzi, like, say he can sign poppin' underground talent right now, like a Pretty Fun, a Netspend, a Hard Rock, and Osama Sun? Would y'all want Uzi to do that? Or would y'all rather have Uzi just get a lot of smaller talent and pour into them and have them become like the next breakout stars? Kind of like what Cardi did, right? Lone was popping in the underground, but it was very small. Ken, same thing. Homicide Gang, pretty much birthed them from 0 to 100, right? Smaller talent, smaller for sure. Yeah, I agree. I think smaller is the better play, and I think he'd definitely get more respect for that 1000%. And he's gonna be like, yo, you know, Cardi did this. Look what I did, big bruh. Like, look what I did, twin. Like, I mean, who's in Philly? That's a fact too. I don't know. I can't name you one Philly underground artist. Maybe I'm not tapped in. I don't really know. Develop some talent himself. Yeah, I think that's definitely the best play. I think more organic with smaller artists. Yeah. Nobody on the size of Osama would sign to Uzi when they could go to a major and get $1 million deal by themselves without someone else digging in their splits. Yeah, that's also what you got to think of if you're an artist as well, right? Because I was talking about this with my friend literally like earlier today. We're like, all right, you're a rapper, would you sign to Uzi? I mean, it's a cool opportunity, yes. And obviously there's just so much, you know, room for growth with that. But also in terms of like money side, your money's going to be taken from Uzi's going to get a split, the label's going to be getting a split. What percentage of your own money are you going to see once everybody's pockets are filled? That's another thing artists have to consider as well. But I guess it's just like what the artist wants to be and, you know, where they're at. NGYL, Skrilla, and Slayer. I don't know about that, to be quite honest. Skrilla is kind of already lit, and would the Uzi fans want Skrilla to be signed? The 6'7" dude? That Slayer dude, a lot of people have been saying, I think he's from Philly. That could be cool. And I think they said Slayer has been inspired by Uzi heavy. And then NGYL makes sense. He's kind of been, you know, involved with Uzi. At least I found about NGYL from Uzi. So Slime get him. Shoot, we'll see. It's going to be very interesting, though. Very interesting. I want to see how this develops in 2026, and if Uzi really takes this serious and like this is a real thing that Uzi invests in, and we see like the start of 16 really go hard, or at least the seed has been fully planted and the growth starts within 2026.